Welcome to the recording of the Infosession Create a Personal Branding. This Infosession is part of the event series Get Started Self-Employment in the Arts and Creative Industries. With this series, we offer insights into various topics for your start into self-employment in Germany. And in this session, our speaker, Tine Teurich, gave an overview of what's important to keep in mind for a good online and offline presence. She showed good practices and gave useful tips. We hope this video will help you with your start and you enjoy watching it.
So thanks again for joining the session. I'm really happy that I can be part of that beautiful project. And I immediately said yes when I was asked to help to hold a little presentation about what I'm doing. And I really want to help you, to get started here. So yeah, let's start. I quickly want to introduce myself, and actually it's not only myself, it's myself today, but normally I'm working in a team, and my team is the team of Super Unknown. This is the name of our company, our little agency, and yeah, it's Laura, Lisa, and Norman here, and obviously me, and we are a little communication agency, and we are actually at home in the music business. This is our profession, but it's like we work with musicians and artists, but also with companies and associations in the music industry. But also we work with other companies that have a different, that are not music related also. And what our profession is we help these people or these companies to communicate with their audience and also to bring great ideas to an audience. We do it mostly on a digital way. So we're kind of like experts in the field of social media and other platforms that are, used by a lot of people who are more at home in the DIY segment. And I started in the music business when I was doing promo. So I did music promo in a little agency, and then I kind of thought, obviously, because of all the possibilities that we have today, I can also help companies and artists to really present themselves and build a branding and then really communicate what they have to say. So that's why Super Unknown was founded and established, and it's still fun, and it's also fun to talk about my work and what I've learned in the years. So today we talk about how to create personal branding, and of course I kind of needed to bring like the most popular brand. I think it's one of the most popular brands in the world. I think everybody knows this is Apple. And I think, it's very nowadays, but it's always been very important to have a brand, because obviously people recognize you because you have a logo or a name. But actually, like for me, the power of a brand is what emotions and associations and connection the audience has to the brand. And so obviously brands can not only be things like phones or other products, people or musicians or creatives and art, they also can build up a brand. You can see Lizzo there. I really love her. She's a great artist, and it's so cool to see that she doesn't have to have things to be a brand. Like herself, she is a brand, and you recognize her because you see how she looks like. But at the same time, she's a well-known brand because she is an ally for her fans, and she's it's very important to her to empower people who are not comfortable with their bodies and everything. And all this tiny segments of a character sum up to a brand. And my job in this world is to use these strengths of artists and companies to really put it into cool communication so that people will recognize and people will love what people are doing. So this is actually what I think is most important when it comes to branding. So, and because like, I mean, if you have a brand and if you have a great brand, well, the brand gets great, I think, when it's also communicated in the world and people receive it. But to get a brand out there, you obviously need to communicate. And it is, well, it has become so important in the last years to be able to build a personal branding on your own, because we are now able to use more and more communication possibilities like the social networks. And you see that picture, it's a screenshot of the movie Almost Famous. I'm not sure if you know it, but if you don't know it, I can highly recommend to see it. It's a music film, and you see Lester Bangs. It's the movie character. You see Lester Bangs, and he's a music journalist. And on the other side there is William Miller, and he's only 14 or 15 years old, and he wants to become a journalist, and he also wants to write a story about a new band called Stillwater. And Lester Bangs gives him the opportunity to write a big article about that new band in the Rolling Stone magazine. And I tell you that story because a few years ago, or like, I mean, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, journalists were able to, media were able to put the stories out, and they wrote the stories about you. And also labels and agencies were the ones who were creating the stories, they were creating the branding and all that stuff. And well, artists and creatives, they were more in the background. They were the ones who would perform and stuff, but they, well, you know, they couldn't really help creating the branding. So, but nowadays, and this is maybe something that is sometimes a burden, but also it's a great opportunity. We are the media, and this is because we have so many ways of promoting ourselves these days. I mean, obviously, it has become a lot, and it is a lot of work to do so. But on the other hand, we have the opportunity to build our branding and bring it to the people without, not necessarily without the help of journalists or labels or whatever. So now that was a really long intro, I guess, but I will introduce you to the stuff that we want to do today. So at first, I want to speak about the status quo of the world of communication that we have to face right now. I think it's really important because we have a lot of challenges these days. And I think it's really important to talk about that and to really think that through when building a brand or to communicating a brand. And the next step will be, we will talk a little bit about the craft of communicating. And so it's a little bit of theory, but I try to make it not so boring, and I think it won't be boring, I guess. And then I brought some good practice examples of artists, mostly artists from the music world, but I brought some good practice examples to show you people who were able to build a great brand and how they did it. And last but not least, I will give some tips that I have for you when you're just starting and what to keep in mind in general. And well, and I think that's more than enough. I think it will be over very quickly, so I will just go on. I mean, I don't know if there's any questions right now. If not, I will just go on. All right. So what are our challenges right now? I think a lot of you can really relate. We have too much of everything. There's so much information all over the place. All of our friends are on social media and posting. All of our greatest, most popular artists are on social media. We have streaming. We have a lot of blogs. We have magazines. We have streaming services, and so it's super hard to keep track of what is going on, and there's so much going on so that people, yeah, the problem is that people have too much information, and so they don't read through emails. I think everybody can relate to that as well. Like if you send information or a mail that is longer than 3 lines, then people wouldn't go through it. And it's like this is a problem of our time. We have too much information, so everything has to be really quick. And so are the formats that you find on the internet. That's why you have 15-second stories, and you have a TikTok that works with short videos, and everything needs to be really short and tightened up. And it's not that this is my absolute favorite, but this is something that happens right now, that everything needs to be very quick and short. And of course, it's super hard to cope with all that. We want to know how to play the game. And actually, like people who are creating art or are creatives, doing music, doing exhibitions, they all want to know how to reach people, how to gain more people or more audience. And of course, we all want to be seen. And of course, obviously, we all want to be loved. But because everybody wants this and everybody puts everything out there, we need to have some algorithms that are mostly, well, algorithms. We know algorithms when it comes to social media, and they kind of curate our timelines and all that stuff. So we have the problem that when social media started, we had maybe 100 fans or 100 followers. And if I wanted to post something, every one of the 100 followers got the information. But now it's different because the social media companies, the tech companies don't show everything to everybody. They, well, curate it. So if you want to reach your 100 people, maybe you reach 10 or 20 or 30, but you will never reach everybody. So this is a very, very big challenge for artists because they put a lot of effort in promoting their art or what they do. And and then the machines stop them and it's hard to reach the fans. So what happens? More and more artists say, well, I don't like that because, to be really honest, I want to be a master of my craft, and I want to be great at my art. I want to do great stuff. I want to create. I don't want to be a master in algorithms and a master in social media stuff. So we have to be really careful not to lose our minds in this information pool that is sometimes really fucked up. So this is maybe like the first thing that I want to tell you is like, I think every one of us has to find their own way to live in that crazy world. And there's no rules and there's no machines that tell us you have to be on this platform and on this platform and on this platform. You decide where you feel comfortable. You decide how much you want to do and how much you want to share and how much time you spend on things, because it is really, really important to stay sane and to stay relaxed and all that. But still, I think the greatest challenge for a lot of people who create and want to promote their art is like to really find their audience and make them stay. Because of all that stuff that I told you before, it's really hard. You know, you meet people, they consume your art, your products, whatever, and then they're gone. And maybe sometimes you have them on social media, but what if you want to reach them again? How can you do it? How do you collect your fans and how do you make them stay? So, well, you can be a nice community. So really, where are the fans and how can I keep them will be a really, really, really big thing in the future. So this is the first part about the status quo. Is there any questions so far? No? That's good. That's what I thought in the first place. So let's talk about a little bit about the art of communication. I really do think that it is kind of like an art. Yeah.
One thing, I think the Ukrainian translation right now stopped.
Okay.
I don't know, just to hear back, can somebody do a sign maybe if it's working again, or yeah, okay. So continue. You can continue.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, no problem. So, yeah, the art of communication, I wanted to say that I really think that it is in art, like in personal life, as well as in business life and to friends and all that, communication is complex and it is really hard to do it really, really good. So I think the art of communication is really a good thing to say. So a question that really drives me since I started to do my business is, what makes things popular? Why get things popular and others not? This is a question. I mean, if I could answer that like straight away, and if I had, all the knowledge about that, I maybe wouldn't sit here. Maybe I would be very rich and live on an island and drink cocktails all the time. I think it's always a process, and it's in try and error. But there's some people who try to find out how it really works. So a few years back, I stumbled upon a book called Contagious, and it is written by a guy, an American guy who's a professor in a university in the US, and he actually tried to find out what kind of factors increase the likelihood that things get more popular, or that things get that people talk about these things. Because actually, I think still the biggest tool that we have is like the people that talk about our art, that people that talk about our products and our music and stuff. The people are the ones that we want to reach, and we want them to talk about our stuff, because that is like the typical word of mouth thing. I think it's still the best marketing tool that there is. So this guy wanted to find out what kind of factors increase the likelihood for things to get popular, and I want to introduce you to them. So what he first says is the term social currency. So he says people care about how they look to others. They want to seem smart, cool, and in the know. I think everybody can relate to that. We all want to, look smart to others or look good to others. And so he says so be sure to create something remarkable and outstanding. So I think this is like the oldest marketing rule for sure. Like, do something remarkable, do something new, do something innovative and stuff. But still, it is a very, very good tool. If you try to make something new and make something that people haven't seen before, this is really cool. And because it really triggers the social currency. Because if people see something very remarkable and very new, they are more likely to tell people, because they themselves feel cool by knowing all that news. I mean, Jonah Berger, he's the author of this book. He had this example of a bar in New York, and this bar was not, you couldn't find it on Google Maps or something, and you couldn't see it when you were walking down the street. You had to know that you had to go into a telephone and a phone box and dial a number, and then that was the entrance to the bar. Then the door opened and you would go inside the bar. And well, it really spread the news, because everybody was like, oh my God, I know this great bar. And it's so cool because you have to dial a number and then you get in. So this is kind of like the thing that he means. Like, if you do something really remarkable and really cool and new, people are eager to tell other people, because they themselves want to seem cool. Another thing, another factor that he found out, actually, I'm not sure if I said it, it was a study. So it was not that it's only his thoughts. He really did a study on that kind of factors. So the next thing he found out was the term triggers. And so top of mind means top of tongue. Consider the context and grow your habitat so people are frequently triggered to think about your product. This is quite vague in a way, but I can tell you it maybe has not a lot to do with arts and creation, but I think it's a very funny example. Back in the 90s, there was an increase of sales of this chocolate bar, Mars. I think everybody knows the Mars chocolate bar. And well, the marketing and the company, they didn't know why that happened, because they didn't spend more money in marketing. Everything was the same with the company. But then they found out that by that time, when the sales increased, the NASA, like the Space Association in the US, they had a new thing going on, and it was like not an exhibition, but like a mission Mars. So it was all over the news, and they were talking about the mission Mars all the time. So because people heard the Mars thingy on the news, they were triggered in their head, and so more of them bought the chocolate bar, even though it was not connected to it, like topic-wise. So, I mean, I think it's a really fun story, but and this is a thing that happens in our heads all the time. We always are triggered, like we go out of the street and we are triggered by something. And actually, from the music side of things, I sometimes, when I see the trigger thingy, I'm thinking about a band called Bilderbuch, it's an Austrian band, and they have a song called Day Drinking. And this is something I feel like they know that triggers are a good thing to, get the word spread. Because, if you're talking with your friends about day drinking, then of course there can be like the trigger that maybe I want to hear that song. So I think it's a little bit hard to really think of some marketing stuff you can do with that. But obviously, when you do a campaign about your art and whatever, then you can always have in mind that this is something where you can kind of influence people a little bit. And of course, and I think this is very strong, especially when you work with art and you are creative, when we care, we share. Emotional content often goes viral. And emotional content is, of course, it can be humor, so everything that is entertaining, but it can be like really sad things and really, but very, very joyous things. I'm, to be honest, like when I think about what I share the most, it's definitely cute animal content. So this is something that is really emotional to me, and I will always share it with my friends. This is something that is funny to me. And also memes and all that internet culture. This is everything that triggers emotion. So this is very, you're more likely to share things and to talk about things when they're emotional. So focus on feelings rather than function. This is something that that is not in the book, but this is something that I didn't invent it, but I thought is a good idea to put it here as well. Because nowadays, I feel like that in the world of social media and promoting things, it's very important to really, have some, to identify with others, with topics, with things that are close to someone's heart. Like if somebody is really concerned about climate change and maybe is active in climate activism, then of course you would share, like if you would feel the same and I would post something about it, other people would rather share it because they have the same mindset, they have the same thoughts in their heads, and they can really relate to what is close to my heart. So identification with things is super, super, super important also for the brand building, because if you promote something and kind of tell people with what you identify, and you see with what people identify, then you will get the people that identify with the same things. And, you know, communities consist of people who identify with a certain topic, with a certain thing. Public. It's as easy or simple as that, but I think especially for people in the creative business, this is a very, very, very important factor. Make yourself or your creations publicly observable. Be present. The more often you see something, the more likely you talk about it. And actually, of course, this is obvious. If I want that other people talk about me, I will have to show myself. But in my experience, especially artists are a little bit shy when it comes to promoting themselves, are a little bit shy to publish something and then talk about it again and again and again. And I think the marketing agencies and the labels and whatever, it's easy for them, or actually like companies like Apple, they have marketing agency who do their ads and who do their communication, and they spread the word and it's put a lot of money in it, and they promote. But this is something that a lot of artists, especially the DIY artists, don't do. They're a little bit more shy. And so I kind of want to encourage you to be more public and not to think, oh, maybe I annoy people when I talk too much about it, or maybe it's too much. It's never too much. And if it's too much, people will tell you, I guess. But this is a very, very, very important thing, to be present and to stay present in order to show your brand to others. Yeah, practical value. I mean, I think I found it very hard to find something that, that I found it hard to have a good example for that, for the creative business. But I think you can relate with the thought. News you can use. Useful things get shared. So if you have something, if you buy something and it works like perfectly, of course you will tell all your people, okay, you have to buy this, you have to buy this. This is the best pen that I've ever used. So you will share the news that you found like the best pen on earth. But also, like, if you as an artist have a special skill, or maybe you want to share your sheets, like for the music sheets, this is something that can have a practical value for your audience. So this is something that you can, maybe do, and maybe also have the thought, okay, what can I do with that information? Is it a practical value for me? So when it comes to communication and to people who communicate with or artists that communicate with their fans, I sometimes find it a little bit, it's not personal, and it's a very one-way direction communication, and there is no thought with the artist that the one on the other side needs to get value out of it. So this is something you really have to have in mind, that somebody on the other side wants to have value as well. And very, very important is stories. Of course, you all know, like, stories are the best. I think stories are as old as we all are, like the humankind. And people don't think in terms of information, they think in terms of narratives. So that doesn't mean that everything you do is like writing stories from now on, or like writing all like big stories in your communication or whatever. But I think you know it as well. Like, if you hear a story, you hear stories every day from your friends, from your colleagues. People communicate via stories, and this is something that is needed if you try to describe your art or try to communicate with your audience as well. Stories are important, and they give context and they give entertainment and stuff. So this is a very, very important thing for the branding process as well, because people remember stories. They don't remember facts and information. That's really hard, but they remember stories. And now we come to the next part. It's it's about like we now talked about what is helpful to get the word out and to get people to talk about you. But when it comes to, you know, like really build your own brand, there's some things that you have to think about. And this is at first your own strengths. When you think about you and your art, I think for either your own brand, but also like for the communication of your brand, you need to think about what are you really good at. So what is the thing that you know best, that you can do best, and really write it down or really get aware of that, because this is your biggest strength. And this is something that your brand can be built around that. Also, if you already have some fans, and the fans can be also like only a few people, why does your audience like you? What's the reason? Why do they follow you? Why do they want to hear your stories? Why do they want to consume your art, your pictures, your designs, your whatever? There's always a reason why people like you, but you just have to find it out. And to be honest, you can simply ask people. That is really easy. The other question that you can ask yourself is, what do you want to be known for by your fans and in public? Because it's not like your audience says, okay, I like this about you, and then you just do that more often. It's also about what you want. So if you have a vision of what you want to be known for, this is really good for building your brand as well, and have that as a goal. And also, and this is something that I'm really passionate about, I think the brand building process must be something that you always feel comfortable with, because I'm sure that you will be only successful with a certain brand if you feel good with it. So think about your happy place. And this is really pretty much related to the communication and the promotion of your art. So what platform do you need to show yourself in the best possible way? So that means, like, how do you express yourself? Are you good in writing? Are you good in designing? Is visuals like the core of your brand? Do you like to act? Do you like to think more in photography? Or do you like to take pictures and whatever? Also, do you like to show yourself or rather want to hide? Because when you look at social media, I always think like, oh my God, these are all like really extrovert people who like to show their face. And sometimes people feel like, okay, this is the only way to promote yourself. But I don't think so. There's plenty of other possibilities to show yourself to the world. And I think you, of course, need to find a good platform where you can shine, and also think like, okay, how do I want to express myself on these platforms? And last but never least, your audience. And think about your most important allies, because this is the audience. That's the people who love you, that's people who follow you, that buy your art, that go to your exhibitions, that go to your concerts. And to be really able to make a connection to your audience, it's very important to kind of know things about the audience. So what topics connect you with the fans? And what do you get the best feedback from your fans? So this is something, I mean, if in my experience, when I ask artists that I worked with, like, okay, what is it that connects you with your fans? And they're like, well, I don't know. But the first question is, okay, so what do they tell you? Have you ever asked them things? Or maybe you start with a question, or if you ask yourself, like, what do you get the best feedback from your fans? And then I think then slowly you get a glimpse and an idea how your followers and your fans rule and your audience rules. Yeah, and also, of course, very important, where and how do they want to communicate? There are fans that are, or there's an audience who is really into commenting on social media postings, but there's also an audience who likes to be more in private, and it's better to send them mail outs and a newsletter, or there's different things. And I always say to people, like to my artists who are able to play concerts, like, if you meet your fans at the end of the concert, and it goes for everything that where you meet your fans in public, like, ask them how they want to stay in touch, where they want to communicate, what is their most favorite platform. It's so much worth to know where your fans are and where they want to be. Yes, this is the second part. So is there any questions so far?
There are no questions so far in the chat. So, but like, you have the opportunity to write any questions in the chat. So if there are a question right now, you can post it now and then we can answer it right away. But if not, maybe they will come up later.
Okay. All right. Well, then I can talk about the good practices. I think I have a lot of them. So if there's no questions, I can go on with that, I guess. But you can always interrupt me. That's no problem at all.
Cool.
So with the good practice examples, and this is very important for me, I didn't want to show the most successful people when it comes to, numbers, or like who's the most famous artist. I wanted to show people where I really think that they did a great job with their branding. And to be honest, like, most of them never really decided to, be a brand or whatever, because this is, to be really honest, this is something, it's a lot of marketing stuff. And I know that a lot of artists are like, oh, I don't know, I don't like marketing stuff. And this is always something that I have to cope with, that I don't want to be the evil side of the whole thing. But marketing people are, they don't have the best perception with artists. But I really think that the people who never thought about how they could, who never put a pen out and wrote down their branding, people or artists who just did what they do best and do whatever they wanted to do, I think they have the greatest branding. So I think maybe I put my first tip out now, because I think branding, building a brand is so easy, because you kind of just need to be who you are and what you do best. So, and to underline that, I want to introduce you to, I think she's one of my favorite artists, and not because she does the best music or the best art, in my opinion, but because I think she is a very, very inspiring person. And I'm talking about Amanda Palmer. I always consider her the queen of storytelling and the queen of community and the queen of crowdfunding. She does it all. Like, to kind of explain a little bit where she's coming from, she used to play in a punk and cabaret band. Actually, she started out as a living statue in the town, getting money on the street as a street artist. And then she created a band. They're called the Dresden Dolls. I don't know if you know them. And after a while, they were quite successful. They had a big deal with a major label. And well, then she decided to, leave that kind of thing behind and made a solo project. And she is known for doing the most successful crowdfunding campaign in history for the music sector, actually. I'm not sure if it's still that way, but it was for a very, very, very long time. And the reason why she came there was that she always had a very, very close connection to her fans. So when she started out, she did the concerts, and after she did a 2-hour concert and a 4-hour gathering with her fans. And she always slept at the houses of her fans, and they were really, really deeply connected. And she was the first one who kind of discovered the possibilities of the internet for her. So when the internet just came up, and she, well, other people started a blog. She started a blog as well, and that was her. And there was a time way before social media, but via this blog, and because people could write comments, she was able to stay connected with her fans. So she really knew the strength of a community, or how strong that can be, that connection. And because of these connections that she built over the years, she was able to be so successful with crowdfunding. Also, and this is something, and this is about her brand and how she expresses herself, she is very good in writing. She obviously, I mean, she's a musician, she's good with lyrics and all that, but she's really good in storytelling. So because she knows that she's super good at writing, she had this blog. Now she is on a platform called Patreon. It's I'm not sure if you know that platform. I think it's a very interesting platform for everybody who does creative stuff. It's basically a platform where your fans fund you, but not only one time, but like all the time, like every month. You give money to the artist to support them. So she has a really, really big following, but she has also a following on Instagram, and she does a mail out. So she's super, super close and very personal and very transparent. And I think this is the reason, because she's so open-minded, and she talks about emotions and death and the things that go on in lives and in her life. And she's so empathetic. And this is something this is her brand. That's how she became so famous. And of course, her music kind of expresses that as well. But I think what is really cool about her, a lot of people not only follow her because she does good music, they follow her because she is that kind of person. And this is, I think that's her strongest thing, like the way how she talks to people, the way how she is, and that she has her heart on the top. Actually, like, she always does new stuff. She did a podcast after she had, she's everywhere. I mean, this is something I wouldn't recommend, actually, because I don't know any person who can write that much stuff every day like her. I don't know how she does it, but she does it. So she has a new format, and this is called Ask Amanda. So what she asked her community to do is to write her questions of life, like really deep questions. And she kind of writes an essay. And what she wants is, she wants to help people with the stuff that she does. I mean, she's actually, sometimes I feel like she's kind of like a therapist. I think maybe she considers herself as a therapist as well, to be honest. But this is her strength, and this is something she found out that she has to really emphasize, that kind of strength. I could really talk hours about her, because I really love her approach. If I have a little bit of time, I will talk about her a little bit later, because I think her vision of how art is valued in the future is like really amazing, because I feel like that art is still, and also because of like all technical possibilities these days, artists have a lot of trouble that people are valuing their art. So this is actually a German example. This is Malonda, Aisha Malonda. She is a musician. And
we have like 3 questions in the chat. Shall we do it now, maybe? Yeah. Okay. One question is, I'm a cello player and need to expand my following, but nothing is working. Should I be posting other things that isn't exactly about cello in order to grab new followers?
That's a very good question. Actually, that really fits to the example that I have now. So I can maybe answer that with her, with Malonda, because I really do think that you, in order to, you know, if you consider yourself as a cello player or as a musician, that doesn't mean that you only have to post about that. If you have other things that you like, that you're good at, or that you really want to talk about, it's obviously you can post and do different things. Aisha Malonda here, for instance, and actually she asked me the same question when I was working with her ages ago. Well, I was consulting her in a way, and she's a musician, and she also has a great humor. So what she did was she was always posting 5 to 10 memes via her Instagram stories, and it is hilarious, and it is part of her character. Like she's an activist, so this is really like she's a strong personality, and this is the topic of anti-racism. I mean, it's a really it's not a fun thing, but she has a fun part in herself as well, and she has her music, so she kind of like combines it, with that kind of combination. I mean, she doesn't combine it, but she has this 3 hearts in her chest. So she just does it, and it's really cool because if you post only cello things, I'm not sure what you post with your cello playing, but I mean, you kind of need to put out stuff and content all the time, and so I think it might be easier for you to post something else as well. But to be honest, it should be something that is close to your heart as well, like something that you really like to tell, or that you maybe another interest of you and stuff. It shouldn't be too random, because this wouldn't work either. But I can highly recommend to think about other things that you can post as well, and see if this works as well. But to be honest, this is something that all of the artists experience. If you post very funny thing, if you post kittens and puppies, if you post a selfie of you, it's unfortunately, that's why sometimes social media is crap. It's always, or most of the times it works better than when you release a new song or you do something different. But it has to do with how social media is, like how it is, and how people consume that kind of platform. So I feel you when you say like, okay, I post things with a cello and it doesn't work. This is the experience of a lot of people, to be honest. Yeah. There was another question?
Yeah, there was a pretty similar question to that. It was had to do with the heterogeneous portfolio and how many different things you. But I think you answered this question pretty well with your explanation right now. And there is one other one. I do 2 different things: lettering and calligraphy and pasta pictures. People like both. I don't know if I should pick one of these things to be a main thing because they're very different. Should I make separate accounts for these things? I can't choose to do one thing, so I switch all the time, but my profile is a mess.
Okay. I think the first question is, do you have for these two things, is it a complete different audience? If it is, like if the one audience doesn't like the one thing and the other audience doesn't like the other thing, maybe I would switch to two different accounts. But if it works, like if the audience likes both of the things, I think there is actually, I don't think that you have to do things separately necessarily. I think I would decide because if you post the one thing and there's only half of the people that are interested in, and then you post the other thing, and it doesn't make sense because it's hard to gain people if you always have people that don't like what you do and the other ones like it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's I would really ask you that question, but to be honest, I would actually really think about, if you make another account, it's again a lot of work. So if there is any possibility to keep them on one thing, this might be a good idea, just because of the time, like it's really time consuming to build up one account. And then if you want to split it, then you have to take care of two accounts. And if it's possible in any way, keep them together if it fits. And also, I think a few years ago, I was like, oh my God, this account is a mess because there's so many different things on it. But now it's like, I don't care. Like if it's fun and if it's cool, then it can be a mess. I mean, it must be an entertaining mess, a nice mess. Then a mess is okay.
Thank you. Should I ask you more questions, or do you want to continue with the good practices?
Yeah, you can ask the questions.
You talk about the people's personalities and how they attract people, but what do they do particular with their brand or social pages? Like, for example, those IG hideous algorithm.
I'm not sure if I understood it right.
I understand, because I'm not sure if I understand it correctly too. Like, I think the question is, what like the people that you showed already are doing with their brand or with their social media pages, in particular with the algorithm and with the stuff, what they are doing, like what they are doing exactly to get, it's what
to kind of please the algorithm, maybe that, like what do they do to really maybe have the chance to get more people to see the stuff that they do.
Yeah, I think it's because you explained, like the Instagram algorithm is like that, and if there are tricks to, or what you can do in particular to, I think this is it's not just write in the chat that I understood the question, but if this is the question,
I can try to answer it because I think it's quite relevant. And if it was the wrong, like if it was the wrong angle, maybe the person can ask again differently. But especially like for her, like Aisha Malonda, what she does that I'm pretty sure that pleases the algorithm, she posts her memes very regularly, like every day. And this is something that Instagram loves, like every platform loves. Be there and don't go away. So that's what she does. And it's easy for her because she does it anyway. She loves internet humor. So she makes screenshots and then she uploads it. So this is something where you can really please the algorithm to, be regularly on board. I know that it's kind of hard because not everyone is able to, post things every day. But I have a really cool strategy that I saw with a befriended journalist, and I really thought that this was really genius. She releases one print magazine a year, round about a year. So, but of course, like she wants, when the magazine comes out or when she does the promo, she wants that all her people that follow her on Instagram know that this is happening. So what she does is, like, when she knows, okay, in the month, I will talk a lot about my magazine and I want people to buy it, I start 1 month, approximately 1 month before, with doing more on social media to really tell the network, I'm back, I'm here, I love you. And so this is kind of like a strategy to build up traction, like for a certain release. This is something that helps as well. Also, I could right now really recommend to work with, like, especially when it comes to Instagram, to try to work with Instagram Reels, like the video content that you do on the app, because this is something that the algorithm of Instagram pushes right now. But this is something, unfortunately, this changes all the time. And I know that there's always a certain time where they say, like, okay, I push, now you post a video and there's thousands and thousands of views and you don't know why. And this is because they push videos, but now everybody knows, or more and more people know that they push the video content. So I don't know if what I say now is true in a few months, but this is something I can say as well. Yeah. And in general, to be present and post on a regular basis is a very good way to kind of please the algorithms. Don't disappear for 3 months and then come back. Like to be on the platform like all the time, in a way. It doesn't mean you have to post every day. That's, for most of the people, it's too much, and I totally agree. But to be there on a regular basis, I always consider, I think I want to say this at the end as well, but I say it now, if you have more questions. I consider an artist and fan or audience connection as a friendship. It's really like friendship. If you are gone for such a long time, it's really hard to people are gone in your head as well when you're gone. So I think it's a good idea to be present and be there, so people know, okay, she's still there. But it's also important for me to say, like, if it's too much and if it's hard for you to produce that much of content, no worries. Do it on a regular basis. The regular basis can also be, I'm here for you once a week. That is a solution as well. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Another question is, you said it's always best to be yourself and be authentic, but what if no one relates to your authenticity? How to attract an audience?
I mean, this is a hard one. I mean, if nobody can relate to what I'm doing and what I am, I would be very sad, actually. Like, I mean, this happens, of course. Like, I think not every person in the world can be famous, and not everyone, like, maybe you didn't find the right people for that. I think there's an audience for almost every kind of person, I think. And maybe you didn't find, or people didn't find the right people that can relate to this. So I think maybe it's a good idea to look for the people that can relate. But sometimes it's also a possibility that maybe, I don't know. I can't imagine. I think every person has, there's people for every person in the world, I think. I mean, I mean, the biggest assholes of the world have a community, so there's people for everyone. So I think maybe it's just have the wrong people. I've never got that question all over, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's one question. If do you have a good program you can recommend with a calendar that helps post content regularly once you create it?
Mm. Actually, to be quite honest, there are online tools that help you to plan things, and there's also tools that help you to, you can plan it in advance and then it posts. But actually, to be honest, with artists, I would really recommend not to do it because it's not that helpful. I think it's helpful for people who are working for different brands and have to kind of coordinate. I think for artists, like a very simple Excel sheet with a plan, what to do in the next week or with your campaign is the best option. Actually, like for the artists that we work with, we do it with Excel sheets. We plan it like in the Excel sheets, and then when we take a look, when do I want to do this? And we put I think this makes absolute sense, especially when you're working on campaigns, because you have to think about a lot of things like, okay, I have to change the banner, I have to do this, I have to do that. And I think to have like one sheet where you put it is really good. I mean, obviously you can for this use online tools as well. Like there is the platform Trello. A lot of people like that. We use, like for the team to coordinate our to-dos, we use Asana. But this is really something I feel like a lot of people do that work in teams or have, like a business job. But as soon as you have, or as long as you have like a sheet where you put all your information in, that you should be fine with that. But when it comes to like really planning tools, I don't recommend, and I have a really specific reason for that, because if you want to be successful on a social media platform, a big part of being successful is to be there, like to really be there and interact and be on the platform and see what's going on and to make comments and to like other things. It's because it's a social network. So if you work with the planning tool and you give it to the planning tool and then just press a button, you're not on the network, you're just putting out your content, but you're not interacting with your people and you're not interacting with the internet world. So this is something, so that's why I'm like a really old school person who would recommend that. But actually, like my colleague Norman that I introduced at the beginning, like he is, I think he did a Instagram and Facebook and Twitter account for a very long time for his own music blog, and now he's responsible for 2 other accounts, and he works with a simple sheet as well. It's just something that still works. I always use the Google Docs, like that is online, so you can work with other people and you don't have to have all that stuff on your computer and stuff. But yeah, it's very old school. Yeah.
Yeah, there was this question if you have an example for an Excel sheet or something, how you can structure this.
Yeah, I can actually, if you write it down, I can send that. I have that actually.
Can we send it maybe in a follow-up email with?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can send that. It's I have something prepared. Yeah, you can just copy paste and use it for you if you want to.
Perfect. And just to mention, we are like at Kreativ Kultur Berlin, we are working with Facelift. But now you explained that it's maybe not the the best way to do, but for us it works really well because it like you can post directly on different platforms like Facebook and Instagram. And it's a planning tool as well. Yeah, you can check it out. Maybe this one works for you, for example. Okay, another question is, Wait, let me see. I generally do covers, sing popular songs with my own accompaniment on the piano or just piano covers. Will I be able to build my own brand on this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I think there's not a lot, but there's bands in the world who made a brand out of being able to cover things. I mean, it's a great idea to do covers, because when it comes to triggers, this is a very good thing because people know the songs already. That's a very good thing. Yeah, absolutely. If this is what you do, if this is what you love, go for it. It's cool.
Cool. Another one is, hello, I'm a live musician and producer. I have my own brand and merch and an audience scattered all over the world, but I don't have venues to play locally here in Germany. Where do I start? I was thinking about cooperation with the booking agency. Please give me some advice. I would be grateful.
This is actually like a. To be honest, I can give you one advice that has to do with the association that you can go to, because I'm also like working with Music Pool Berlin. It's a place where newcomers, musicians, mostly musicians, in Berlin have the opportunity to get consulting in different fields. And they, of course, also have experts for the booking segment. And so I think, and it's not, you have to pay, I don't know, between 10 or 20 euros to get a consulting, but it's super cheap. It's only, it's something that I can really recommend if you have a very special topic in the music field that you want to get a consultation with. I could actually spread the contact as well, because this is really you can also do work. I'm not sure if it's the creative world works together, I'm sure, but I cannot answer that question because I'm not a booker, and I'm not in live business, and I can really relate with the problem. Like, okay, I need to get concerts, and especially after the pandemic, the problem is that the whole clubs and everything is really booked out, and it's so hard to get a deal with a booking agency, and it has always been quite hard, but now it's harder because it's so, it's, to be honest, like my advice is always like, don't think in venues, think about other possibilities to get your music out. But this is maybe a very stupid advice, but actually I think there's experts in the music pool that could help you with that particular question. So I can, in a follow-up mail, put the contact there as well, because this is also like a very good place. They do community evenings, you can get to know other musicians, and you get really into can really talk to other people and get to know the scene here in Berlin.
Yeah, thank you. So, and then there's one question, Tina, what do you charge?
It depends.
I already posted your contact. Maybe like the person can just write you.
Yeah.
About a super unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, like, this is another advice, like also for the people who are just starting, I would always recommend you can write the music pool and say, I want to have a consultation with Tina, and then this is possible. And I do workshops there as well, a little bit longer ones, so I can write that down as well.
Perfect, thank you. So right now I don't see any more questions, so I think you can continue with your process.
All right. So this is the website of Glass Animals, an indie band, and I really like that kind of example, because I always felt like that people who are very home in the design sector, especially in music, they don't like with the platforms that you can go with, like blogs or Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Sometimes it's hard to to express yourself when you have a really strong design. And this band built a really, really cool website. And I'm actually recommending, if you're somebody who expresses themselves via visuals and via this creativity, I highly recommend to have a very good place to show that as well. And I think a website is still a very good place to do so. Of course, it's sometimes hard to get a community on a website. It's still possible, but I'm pretty amazed by that website because 3 or 4 people that don't know that, well, they recommended me that website and said, this is the most amazing website, you have to see it, because it's like it has a meme generator, it has like a game, I think, as well, and it's super nicely made and super cool, and this is something that is super innovative, I think. And so so this is some kind of tool for communication as well. Also, I want to introduce you to Nova. She is actually a female producer here in, well, she's based in Berlin. And actually I think her branding is pretty much how she is, what she is as a person. And she is a very, very aware and empathetic personality. And this is something she shows all the time on her social media platforms. Like, you feel super comfortable with her, and she's really direct, she's really personal, and she is, I think that a certain type of people, like more sensitive people, really go to her because they feel safe and they feel seen with her. And I found that really amazing, because I have that feeling with her as well at the same time, and I really like that. And I like that. I think I would love if that could be the case in the whole music industry and the whole art industry. She's not like, okay, I want to do my music and he's, I want to be successful and whatever, and all other people go away. She's like, really, I have a network and I want everybody to work together, and I support people that are doing music, that produce music. She's very supportive with producers that are also female, and she's like, really, she tries to get more women out, and this is like something that a lot of people can identify with. And also I think it's really great that she is such a sweet character, and I think this is the love that she spreads is like really necessary for the world, in my opinion. But also, like what I just said, like she would always support the people via her social platforms, and this is a very, very good thing, because as soon as she puts something out, she gets supported with her community as well. And this is perfect, because you have a wider reach than if you only do it on your own. So a network, and building a network with like-minded people, and also like-minded artists and like-minded producers, is a very good idea. This is the band Sleaford Mods, and also with them, I think they are Brits, middle-aged white British guys, and they're exactly what you expect of middle-aged white British guys. Actually, they have their heart on the right place. Like they're they're left, and very supportive of minorities and all that stuff. But what they're doing, they're really just themselves. Even though when they do promo, even though they, you know, appear in a more business-like situation, they're just like this a little bit angry people about the world, and they just do whatever they want to do. And this is, I find it really amazing. And actually, I did a workshop a few weeks back, and there was 2 people in the crowd, and I showed this picture here. And there was 2 people in the crowd who said, "Oh, I know them." So I asked them, okay, well, they obviously liked them as well. And I asked them both what they liked about them and how they would describe them. And they both said, they just don't give a fuck. They just do whatever they want to do. And yeah, they're just like the most authentic people that there are. And I think they have nothing to lose. And I think when they started, oh, well, we are here in the booking, we talked about the booking segment. Actually, how they started out was they were playing in pubs, like from north to south, from west to east. They were playing in pubs. To be honest, it's Jason on the microphone and it's Andrew on a laptop. And he only presses a button, and Jason is rambling and singing and rapping and whatever. So the setup is really, really, you know, like tiny and small. But they started out and were playing only in pubs and did a lot of appearances in that area. So, and they collected all their audience from going in that little tiny pubs all over the country. And it took a while. It took a while until they had the success that they have now. And they have it, I mean, it's still a niche, but still it's, I think they're a good example for it. It really takes time sometimes. You have to show yourself a lot until maybe there's a critical mass of people that you then go to bigger venues and stuff. But I think their most valuable asset is that they really just say whatever they want to say, and they would never ask the question, okay, how should I do this, how should I do that? They're just themselves. And I feel like it's quite amazing that you can consider that as a brand, because it's so easy. But you kind of have to be a little bit fearless, because they have this format on Instagram when there was the pandemic, they couldn't, you know, go on stage and whatever. So Jason, the one in the front, he likes to bake. So he put on his baking clothes and did like a completely unnecessary erotic baking show on Instagram. And it's so random and weird, but they just did it because they can. And this is why people find them so amazing. So it's not for everybody. Nothing is for everybody. And actually things that are for everybody are mostly not so cool. I think every artist would agree on that, I think. Hope. Yeah. And also, I'm not sure if you know her. She's great, Celeste Barber. She's a comedian, actually. She's an Australian comedian, and what she does is only one thing on Instagram. Well, now she does a little bit more, but this is what branded her until now. She has now over 7 million followers, I think. I think it's something in the millions. I'm not sure what it exactly is. But when she started out, her idea on social media was, okay, I will recreate model photos, but in real, like how normal people look. And it's so funny. I know that I think this is one of the sites and accounts that I shared the most with friends and people, because it's so funny, it's so amazing. And the cool thing is, I know that she got really famous for that particular idea that she had. But she, of course, started with it I think she used to be a comedian when she started it, but she was not that well known. So she started that idea and she didn't stop for a long time. She just posted always a photo of a model and then her photo next to it. She also does videos. They're the most funny ones. And when she started, she was not famous at all. And it didn't work for a long time, but she continued to do it because she knew it was a very, very good idea. And then suddenly it really made it. And I think this is a very good example. Also, like the very famous people, the successful people, they all started like with an idea, and it takes time to get that success. But persistence is key, I think. Because I mean, a lot of artists, there are some artists that win the lottery and they are only there for 2 years and then they're super successful, but this is not normal. Most of the time you need persistence, you need to be there, and it takes time. Also, I mean, this is, unfortunately, I didn't think about it, but I'm very sorry, but this is a German newsletter, and I'm the biggest fan of mail outs and newsletters because it doesn't underlie the algorithms, and there is a little bit more space to tell a story and to put more information in. And for all of you who have to say a little bit more than just, you know, a few lines and a picture, I think a mail out is a very good idea. And also it's a very good idea to keep your crowd and your audience at you, because tomorrow, if Instagram is going down because of whatever, your audience, your fans are gone. You don't have their email addresses, you don't have anything. If you
one moment, I think Irina, you're muted. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, can I continue? I can, yeah. This is really important because I think that I think this is a good advice to really think about, okay, how can I get the fans or the followers that I have on social media, how can I get the contacts, like the addresses, like the email addresses or the numbers or whatever, how can I own it? Because you don't own the contacts of Instagram, of the people on Instagram and Facebook. If they leave Facebook, you lost them. If they leave Instagram, you lost them. If Instagram loses it, you lose everything. So I always recommend to have a mailing list as well. And it doesn't matter what kind of craft you're doing, you can have a mailing list for everything. And but especially as an example, like for artists who are, you know, performing on stages, or artists who have exhibitions in different areas, in different cities and whatever. If you have somebody who comes to your exhibition or comes to your concert, and of course the people tell you, okay, I like what you do, but you want to make sure that when you come back to the city and when you come back to the stage, that you can reach them and say, hi, it's me again. Do we see each other on stage in Berlin, whatever? And I think the direct communication, to have a contact, to have a mail address, to ask the people directly if they want to join, and not being, not to having to rely on the social media platforms. Because if you say, hey, I'm in Berlin tomorrow on Instagram, you can't be sure that the person that you want to reach that is in Berlin that would like to know about it. You can't be sure that you reach them. And I'm not sure if you know that, or you know that feeling, like sometimes somebody is in town or has been in town and you have no idea, because sometimes information doesn't go through. And this is a shame. But I think especially, I mean, also, like if you are not ready to put a crowdfunding platform on, like Patreon, I think a mailing list is a perfect middle thing where you can, you know, get a little bit more information to the people that really want it. And also, and that's why I have this kind of newsletter / mail out, it doesn't necessarily need to be a newsletter per se, where you only put like, okay, this is new, this is my new video, this is my tour dates or whatever. I think you can also share your knowledge, you can share thoughts, you can share stories. This particular newsletter is it's kind of like a music magazine in a newsletter. And it's so great because it's 2 to 4 topics for each mail out. And it's super nice and it's super entertaining, and it's not a newsletter at all. It's like really a piece of great entertainment and fun. So there is a lot of ways how you can create a cool newsletter or mail out. But of course, you can also do a newsletter that is really a newsletter. That can work as well. So this is actually a community. It's a community that built around the musician Taiko. And what's special about Taiko is that he is doing electronic music, but also he's a graphic designer. And for some reason, I think it's because this kind of music is also popular with graphic designers, I'm not sure, but also like he does a lot of great artwork with like he's always, he's great with artwork, of course, because he's a graphic designer, but he also has a great community of people who are like-minded in the way that they really love cool design. So what he did before was he kind of designed the pattern of his album or EP or song, like the visuals, and asked his community to make their own art out of it. And this worked perfectly fine. And there was a lot of people joining him and sending him their interpretation of the art. And nowadays, like it's very fresh, he founded a community, like a place where he gathers around people who are like-minded, who like design, and does art with them in a way. And this is something I find really cool, because he has a very special idea how to get his crowd on a platform and how to communicate with them. Because maybe they don't want to do the chit-chat thing, but they want to talk about art, they don't want to talk about graphic design with him. So he decided to have a platform for that. And that is really smart idea. And this is what I told you before, that it does make a lot of sense to know your community and to know what they like and why they follow you and what they maybe expect from you. And I think this is a great way of staying in touch with your crowd. And great job of him to really noticing that there is a great demand of people who want to share that whole thing. And this is a very different, it has to do with music, but it's a different approach, and it kind of underlines what I said, that sometimes it takes decades for a brand to grow. I want to introduce you to the 8mm Cosmos. It started with a bar, and it's kind of like it started as a dive bar in Berlin, and it is a bar for the underground, for some kind of underground music scene in Berlin. And it's an underground music scene for shoegaze and krautrock and whatever. And around that bar, it's like there's a special kind of people who love that bar and who love what's going on there. So the bar is inviting a lot of people who do DJ sets and do play very specific type of music. And the bar has a stage, and it's a great stage to get newcomers on board. and to show them to the crowd. And it's really not for everyone, but it's a bar that gathers people who are like-minded in the way that they listen to a certain kind of music and have a certain kind of style. And out of this bar, there is now a festival called the Synesthesie Festival that is taking place in November in Berlin. And I think this is the brand that has established in the culture scene in Berlin. And you see, I mean, it's a brand, even though it's not something that is only one person or a certain. It's not a musician, not some kind of art. It's just a brand that is helping artists to rise and get to be known. And I think this, well, I know the bar and I know the people that love the bar, and I am always amazed that some things can get a brand and a really strong branding, and some don't. And this one is, I think it's pretty amazing. And it's now turning 20, so it sometimes takes a very long time. Well, it was a brand 10 years ago as well, but it's still amazing how this kind of little place in Berlin is still alive. Yeah. I have more time for questions, if there are some.
Right now, there aren't, but
okay.
Yeah, I think they will come.
All right. So but that's perfect, because we now reaching like the last sector. And so if there's questions from now on, then you can interrupt me. That's no biggie. Because now I have a few tips for you. And this is something, well, I already told you that with the typo example, with the graphic design community. But maybe it's a good idea to emphasize that again, because I really do believe that when you want to make a connection with your audience, that a common ground is a good start to build a connection. And it's like the common ground can be humor. The common ground can be activism. The common ground can be like, I love design. I love designing. The common ground can be, I love that kind of music. And I know that you bring bands to the stage that I will love. So that's why I go there all the time. The common ground can be a lot of things, and I can really recommend to think about it. Like, what is the things that my fans and I like, and what is it? What do my fans have in common and stuff? And so as soon as you know about the common ground of you and your audience, then it's easier to serve them. It's easier to think about cool communication ideas and cool places to show your art. I think this is really the key, to know that common ground. And I can highly recommend to really tighten the bond to your audience, because followers are nice to have, but followers are gone very quickly. You really want to build a connection so that people stay. And what can you do that people stay, or hopefully stay? Be there and try to show up on a regular basis. That's what I told you before. It's always the same. It's actually super easy. And also, like, and this is something I tell the artists all the time, be personal in your communication. try to talk like you talk to people that are close to you. Be more personal, not too disconnected with other people. Of course, there's some artists who are not really personal, but I'm just, well, this is my recommendation if you ask me how to get more tighter or more tight with the audience. Also, transparency can be a really good tool. Like, for example, when artists speak up about, hey, I didn't sell any tickets for my concert this year, and it's a really big problem, and I don't know what to do. I mean, sometimes I think we kind of, in capitalism, we kind of learn to say, everything is great, I'm super successful, everything is super good. But I think to be a little bit fragile and transparent with your community and tell them what is on your mind is always kind of like a thing that helps to get more tied to the people, because you're being honest. It's not that personal communication needs to be private communication. This is something I really want to emphasize. Private is private, and things of your personal life that you don't want to share, you don't need to share. But you can be personal, you can be a human, and you can show that in your communication. And this is something that is really close to my heart. Put as much effort into your existing fans as you do in the fans you want to win. And I feel like that a lot of people who gathered some followers around on the platforms feel like, okay, these are my followers, and now how do I get more followers? But I think it's more important to really please the fans that you already have, because you want them to talk about you. And I think the personal recommendations and the other people talk about you and recommend you is the strongest marketing you can get. You can, of course, put an ad out there and, you know, make a sponsored post or do whatever. But a person, like a real person that tells another person, go there, it's great, is the strongest and the best marketing that you can get. So the people that you already have need to be super convinced of you, and they need to love you very much, and then they will talk about you. So that's why think about your current fans as well, because they are your most important allies in the game. Yeah, this is, eventually they will follow you anywhere if you are very good to them. Yeah. But I know that there's other possibilities of, you know, promoting your art. I know that I'm always really like, oh, this is a friendship and whatever. I know that this is not, you know, there's different possibilities, and the way that I think is only one way. So there's different approaches, and this is okay. But I wanted to talk about the promotion with ads as well, because I think that I can give you some advice what not to do and what maybe to do. I'm actually quite glad that I found this ad of Oatly. It is, I think it's not a creative business, but it is actually a very creative ad. And I feel like if people would be more creative with their ads, they would, and now I'm coming back to the part that I talked about at first, in the first charts, like the social currency. If you do something super special that you have never seen before, that you find funny or very special, then you will see it and you will remember it, and then you will talk about it. Like I talk about that particular ad that I found really cool. I mean, the whole campaign of Oatly is really, really cool. You can look it up on the internet and just do the Google picture search. I think they do great ads. But at the same time, when it comes to promoting your art via ads, it can be something that makes sense for you. and it can be successful, but most of the times, especially when you're beginning, I would be very careful with it that you don't burn money with it. The reason is, if somebody like Beyonce is making a big campaign because she released an album, it is absolutely necessary for her to put a lot of money, like she doesn't do it, I think her label does it, but to put a lot of money into ad campaigns and posters and all that paid ad stuff. But if a newcomer, somebody that most of the people don't know, do that, I mean, have you ever, I mean, that's a question that you can ask yourself, have you ever clicked on an ad of an artist that you don't know, that says like, okay, go to my concert, when you get it by a Facebook ad? I'm not quite sure if that's a thing that, you know, ever worked. But if you do so, always keep in mind, if you want to promote a concert, for instance, then show them what the people can expect. You need to show them how the show looks like, what they can expect when they come there. If you do an ad, it has to be really amazing and people have to kind of feel how it's like. Then it can maybe work. And also ads could work if you have a lot of followers and you want to make sure that everybody knows that you go on tour, that everybody knows that that you're releasing an album, because we talked about algorithms. With ads, you can get sure that everybody of your fans gets to see the message. Then it can make sense. But to be honest, be really careful what you do and what you send out, and always keep in mind, okay, I'm sending it out to people who have never heard of me. We are not friends. We are really strangers. What should I show them so that they would be attracted and see like, oh, okay, I will look it up. You can always, this is something that I recommend, to ask that question before you create an ad. So I can sometimes recommend it, sometimes not. Yeah. But the cool thing is, especially when it comes to ads on the internet, you can make try and error and put a little bit of money into something and then see how it works. The promo with media. Well, this is something I started my so-called career with. Also here, I would highly recommend, if you're starting off with things, and I mean media promo can be useful for any kind of art that you want to promote. But as I think it's very hard as a newcomer to really find a promo agency that is affordable and who is really helping you doing that stuff. I think it has become quite hard for especially unknown artists to be able to get a promo agency, because it's, yeah, the media landscape it's a hard field because they don't have a lot of reach anymore as well. And what I could recommend, if you're starting out, think about, okay, what kind of media that is out there would really love my art? What fits? Where is a great fit? And maybe you only find 5 to 10 platforms that suit your art well. Maybe it's only that. But this is you do research, you can do it on your own, and then you can write a mail or whatever. So it's not about quantity, not at all. Because if you, of course, you can write to the big magazines, but the big magazines, they want names. They want to expand their reach. But try to find something where you feel like, okay, we have a common ground. We want the same things. We are really similar. And my art really fits into that magazine. And then you try it. So it's okay to try it with 5 to 10 things, or maybe only 2. That's all right. But if you make a contact with these people, you have them maybe for life as well. I know that, like my business partner Norman, I know he he has several really close relationships to certain bands, like as bands that were like really, really tiny, not very well known, but they reached out to him. And if he liked them because they fit to his musical taste, he would follow them all the way through and would always do something for them if they asked him to. So make friends with the media as well is my recommendation.
Thank you, Tina. There's one question in the chat.
Yeah.
If I'm not the beginner, does it make any sense to hire a consultation company like yours? How do I find one, or to buy an ad? What is the strategy for a semi mid-career artist?
Actually, I would actually ask myself, is there anything in my, is there anything I really can't do where I feel like, okay, I have a lack of expertise, or I really don't like to do it, or I feel like I have to gain some knowledge or whatever. I would really ask myself that. And if I feel like, okay, there's like a hole, there's something that is missing, there's a missing link, I would recommend to ask somebody who is maybe an expert and who can do a consultation. I feel like, I'm not sure if it's still like a DIY thing. Sometimes I always tried at first, well, I have a team and we have some expertise, and sometimes we need to gain some expertise as well. And at first we try it on our own. And if we really feel like, okay, this is something we can't do, we try to hire help. Actually, like I think doing ads, like online ads or whatever, I used to do it, but then I didn't do it anymore because I thought like, okay, you need to really have a very deep expertise to be really good at it. And I felt like, okay, my strengths are on a really different field and I'm not really interested to dive deeper into it. And I would have to learn and learn every day to really make a good job out of it. So in this case, if I ever needed some expertise in the advertisement segment, I would definitely look for an expert and ask them. In that particular field, I'm very, very sorry, but I can't right now. Maybe you have an idea, Selia. Right now, because there's not a lot of people that I know who do it or do it well, or that I can really recommend because they did a great work in the first place. I think that's also like a reason why I stopped doing it, because the people that I worked with who helped me with that didn't, well, maybe they did a good job, but it didn't work that well, actually. Where do I find it? Where do I find help? That depends really, because it has to do with what kind of field of art you are. Like in the music sector, I could, of course, recommend something. And I will do it in the follow-up mail, obviously. But in other segments, I would have maybe not the best clue. Maybe I can ask people, but yeah, like.
Yeah, it's visual art in the chat. Visual art.
Visual art. Well, I can maybe, if you write it down, I can maybe ask. I mean, I have people in the visual art segment that I can ask. And maybe you have an idea as well. But this is, I mean, of course, like for you, it's super important to get that network going here as well. And yeah, it's a good idea to maybe collect some places that are good for a very particular form of art. Yeah. Yeah, is there another question?
No.
Okay. So I actually think we're almost done. We don't have a lot of time anyways, but this is something that is really, really close to my heart, and it's about promoting yourself as an artist. And this is something I said before, that that's the reason why I love Amanda Palmer so much, because I think she's a great ally for the whole art scene, because she is so good in talking about the worth of arts and the worth of the people who are doing the arts. And a lot of times I'm really sad that we have all this new technology and we have Spotify and stuff, and we all know that, especially in the music scene, like it's you can hear any song at any time and you pay your, I don't know, 10 euros, and other people don't pay anything for listening to a whole worldwide catalog of music. And this is quite sad, because a lot of artists depend on going on tour or doing, all that, selling merch and doing all that materialistic stuff. But in the end, the core of the art is not worshipped. But I think what can really help is to start really talking about that and asking people to help, because this is something that is not, artists are not used to do that, because there were times where the label and the management and the agencies did all the advertisement and all the marketing, and well, the artists didn't really have, they did some interviews or whatever, but they never had the task of really talking about their art and promoting their art. And I really, really think that artists need to learn how to speak about their art, and to tell them, okay, if you want to support me really, then please go to this platform and support me with a little bit of money. We are so afraid of talking about money, and we are so afraid of talking about that we have to live off something. And art is what a lot of artists live off, and they should be able to do so. But we also have to learn to ask people to understand that, so that they get, because we kind of learn as society that art is for free, but it isn't. And I think as soon as artists speak up and talk to their followers and tell them what's going on, then everybody would be, not everybody, but a lot more people would be willing to give more, I'm pretty sure. But we have to help with that, actually. Yeah. And
pretty good end word, I would say. Or do you wanted to say something more? Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I thought it's a really good closing, because it's a really important topic, and it's already 6. So I don't know, but if you want to add something, just
I think this is actually my last chart, and this is a good ending as well. Well, the dogs say it all, so I can actually stop here. It's a Punktlandung. I don't know the English word of Punktlandung. A point landing. I don't know. That was stupid. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Tine. Yeah, thank you for your great presentation and for answering all these questions. Thank you very much. We posted already a link in the chat with the feedback form, and my colleague Irina did it again. So it would be really nice if you just take 3 to 5 minutes, and it will really help us to improve our services. So it would be really nice when you fill it out and take a little of your time. Yes, and as mentioned, we will send you the presentation in a follow-up mail, and the recordings will be published on our YouTube channels. The link we already posted in the chat. And we sent you this example that we talked about, right? This Excel sheet example, or this for this planning tool. We can send it to you too via email. And in the next weeks, we offer more info sessions in English and Ukrainian. And we have also 2 networking events. One networking event is next week on Thursday. So check out our event calendar. My colleague Irina already posted a lot of important things for you in the chat. And yeah, and big thanks to the interpreters and to my colleagues in the background. And yeah, for letting the people in and recording the sessions. And thanks to all of you for coming. And yeah, hope to see you soon. And thanks again, Tina, for your really great presentation. I really enjoyed it. And I hope you too. And yeah, have a nice evening and hope to see you all soon.
Thank you.